say.
Boys.
Hello. And girl.
Girl.
Woman.
Men and women.
Sorry guys, that was a bit loud.
Did you not watch last week's episode?
I did.
Yeah, I did.
Women belong in the kitchen? No, just joking.
Right, this is between you guys.
Tinder hates it when anyone pinches him. So I only did when I'm really
I
mad.
had a bad experience.
That's terrible.
But I've dealt with it a little bit. If you guys haven't watched last week's one, go check it out. It was really good, mind-blowing for us. Yeah, it was a very good recording about the roles of men and women.
So?
In a biblical sense, in like what God expects of us, kind of, you know.
It was alright, yeah.
Yeah, it was alright. It wasn't too bad. Like, if you have gotten this far in the video, please like and subscribe.
A whole minute into the video.
We've got 49 followers or subscribers. We're pushing for 50.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
50th one will get a shout out.
Yeah. Whoever likes us or comments, the next person who comments,
You're gonna go and follow now.
Haven't you followed already?
I don't think so.
Oh my. So you're a guest but you don't follow.
Anyway, the next person who follows will get a shout out.
Don't worry, we're going to break for discipline just now.
Let me see if I do follow. I'm sure I do.
That's so funny.
Is it on YouTube, obviously?
Yes, obviously.
Okay, you guys can carry on doing it.
Okay, so today we are going to find out how Brandon is doing.
I was about to say, you're not going to ask how our week was. What's this?
How was your week, bro? That's Luna's spoon.
It's her teething spoon.
That's
So-
cool.
So you put it in her mouth and she sucks it.
That's why they nulled out then. How am I? I'm fantastic.
How was your week?
Hectic.
Is it busy?
Yeah, it was crazy. Just a busy week. Just the kids were next level. The parents were amazing. I mean, next level. The youth is grown so much that we're splitting
Okay.
this week.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, we're having junior and senior youth.
That's
Hectic,
nice.
okay.
Because
that is
we need
quite
to. Yeah, we just need to. There's too many. And we don't get enough stuff done, and we don't get. I mean, you can't even line them up to like put them in a game because there's so many of them. It's like 3 lines, and by the time you've got to the end of them, you're like, okay, you numbered, whatever, 60, whatever.
Yeah.
That is like, I don't remember.
No, you did have 50.
Huh?
Sorry, you did have 50. Now you got 51.
51!
So whoever you were for 50,
guys. Yes,
shout out
bless
to
you. That's very,
We don't know who you are, but
that's
there you
very
are.
exciting. Yeah, shout out, bro.
welcome.
Leave us a comment and we will shout you out, I promise. Yeah.
I'm number 51 though. So.
You're 51. There you go.
Area 51.
Cookie for
I brought
me.
you something. There you go.
You brought it for me.
are the coolest.
I'm the coolest.
Cheers. You're the coolest.
Yay.
If you haven't ordered your Valentine's Day boxes, it will be too late by the time you watch
I was about to
it.
say. For last week.
So yes, you were saying that everything is insane.
Yeah, so the youth is insane, so we are splitting, so that's new. This week will be the first one, so which is quite cool.
Nice.
Other than that, yeah.
Love.
Life going good. For me, life has been going really good. A lot of things happening. I've mentioned before that we're doing the whole prayer team thing in that ministry, and that's really going really well. So God's been so good with that, and excited for supper tonight. Yeah, it's very lekker. And
The things we
candles are going really good. Candles are going good, and video for things are going very good. I'm excited. I'm a happy husband.
I would be too if I don't know what I was going to say. I wanted some.
I was going to do
You wanted to tune me,
I
yeah?
did. I wanted some nice comeback.
Okay.
But I don't have one. I don't want to tune you. I just wanted a nice I would be too if I was married to me.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's what you
100%.
should
I
say.
get what
I
you're
know,
saying.
but now it's
too late.
always afterwards.
Still true, but it's too late.
Very much.
I get
Yeah.
Okay, now that all the antics are over.
Now, no one asked me how I'm doing.
I was about to say,
That's
you
fine.
keep to ask anyhow.
I'm great.
Just because you know,
I suppose, yeah.
doesn't mean they know.
How was your week?
Well,
Enjoy.
terrible now. It was great until...
Forgetful, worthy.
You bought something for our child.
I
It's quite
did.
practical.
So shout out to Sadie's kids because, honestly, I want 60 mats now.
You're going to say 60 kids?
No,
It's like, yo,
definitely not that one. We bought
Definitely
a playmat.
not.
Definitely not. We bought a playmat which doesn't sound that exciting, but it is legit the most amazing thing that we have bought for Luna's nursery.
We are actual parents now.
Yeah.
We get
I
excited
think the
about
baby bot made it your actual parents. I don't think the mat does.
No.
But
But
still,
I'm saying
nice.
like we're parents because we
We're
get excited
about
about
No, you're
buying
adults.
kiddie stuff.
You're adults.
We're adults. There we go.
It's like being excited when your kitchen's clean or something.
Yes.
You're like, oh,
So we've a quick
yes.
Mahala tip for the week. It's for free. We have discovered this new thing called Power Hour, but it's actually Power 35 minutes.
Yeah.
So we at night time before we go to bed, we like
Clean the
look at the
house.
house and it's kind of not messy.
Tidy.
There's a couple. It's not tidy. So then we go. Okay, we put a 35-minute timer on, and we see how much we can get done.
not 30 minutes. 35.
No,
35
35
specifically.
specifically.
Okay.
Yeah. You gotta have those extra 5 minutes.
Okay.
You know? And then you wake up the next morning and your house is clean.
It's very nice.
Oh,
Guys, that's how I live.
it's
No,
beautiful.
but there's only one of you.
Yeah, but still.
There's like 6 of us. The dogs.
You should have a dog as well.
No, but I don't feel like the dog sheds as much as our dogs.
Oh.
Oh, does she? Okay.
She stands in the wind and 2 or 3 dogs blow.
Shout out to Miss K.
Yeah, shout out to Miss Kay and all her dog hair. I
Do you
literally.
bath it though?
Yeah, not all the time, but I do. But like the lady came to clean, I get the lady to come clean my house every now and then, not often. She's
Okay.
like a good clean. She moves the couches and whatever. So she come on Tuesday. Yeah, yesterday was Thursday. Yesterday I'm like, what is that? He's like, a pile of dog hair. I'm like, wow.
No, I mop every day and still every day.
Yeah.
There's like little, what do you call them? Mice, dust mice. What do you call them?
Dust bunnies.
Dust bunnies, there we go.
I'm
Dust
like,
mice.
what? Dust mice? Mice? You guys live, I know you live in the sticks, but where?
We literally live in the sticks.
No, I do. It was actually a nice drive today. coming as well.
Oh, no misfiring on your car.
No, I don't know what that is.
Oh, okay, that's fine.
Stupid car. But I did have both windows open at 120.
20.
I was driving the speed limit, just under 119.5 kilometers an hour. Plus a few.
So to round off the question, I'm doing fine.
Oh, good. Is that where we were?
Yeah, that's where we were.
Okay.
That's where we were.
Thank you
Too
for bringing
busy.
us back.
But way
Yeah.
too busy for
You've
my
been editing quite a lot.
Yeah, we had like 3. We had like a mini shoot special. So we
Okay.
did all of our mini shoots.
Okay.
And then Hendrix also been learning how to shoot.
Not with
Camera.
a gun. With a
No.
camera.
Shooting with
A
camera.
camera. And then
Talking about shooting, we should talk after the.
Yes, that reminds me of a good of my week. Sorry to interrupt you. I got my strap
Yes.
and my glass cover for my watch.
I literally
Nice.
feel like this podcast has just become us like catching up.
Yeah, it is.
No,
People
literally.
must think like we would walk in and immediately start recording. Never mind that I've been here for like, I don't know, an hour already.
Yeah.
Brandon is literally our furniture now.
Yeah.
He's just
Yeah.
here,
We chat like
part of the house.
Pretty much.
Pretty much.
We should do a recording in the school again with a cat with a aircon when it's hot.
Oh.
You lost the aircon from cat. Ow!
I never
That was
asked.
true. That was true.
Yeah.
You go to the bigger room. It's more
Yes.
space as well.
Like
Also
it.
aircon there.
Sounds like fun. Cool.
So yeah,
So this week, now that the antics is really over,
it is.
what is antics?
That's not the right term.
Okay. Anyway, I'm a Dutchman.
Guys,
I
my
like to
vaccine
sound.
boost is now available.
Ooh.
You what?
Vaccine boost.
Oh,
I
cool.
didn't ask, but thanks for
Oh,
that.
Have you gotten both jabs?
Yeah, I've gotten both jabs.
so you're gonna go for your third one.
You're gonna Google antics now.
No, I wasn't going to Google anything. I was going to open up to what we're going to talk about.
Oh.
But I just saw this message come through. But get your J&J booster 2 months off. What? 2 months or Pfizer booster 6 months
Hectic.
after your last jab.
Nice.
Well, it's more than 2 months since my last jab. You bunch of mukhus who sent out that.
Sounds like fun.
Anyway, continue.
We
So
are
today
under
we are talking about the first book of the Bible, Genesis.
Genesis.
I'm not WhatsApping anyone.
Genesis.
I'm not
Genesis.
WhatsApping. I'm not on Facebook or
The
Instagram.
creation. In the
Bible.
building.
Okay.
In the beginning.
Do you want to roll with it?
Yeah.
Tell
Well,
us- tell
okay.
us what you
So.
think. Where did the idea
Yeah,
stem
that's
from?
also where the idea came from. I've said before I do Bible with the juniors in the morning, and we have a devotion book.
He's a
we-
teacher, by the way, if you don't know.
In fact, he is a principal
He's a principal
To be exact, I'm not
of
a
a
teacher.
school.
I'm a principal. And
of a remedial center.
remedial
Yeah.
center, not a school. Yes.
Okay.
I do the junior Bible in the morning because we have obviously up to grade. I do up to grade 7. Yes, up to grade 7. And then obviously the seniors are with my mom. And obviously being age gaps, grade 4s, and you can't always talk about what grade 10s are talking about in Bible. So
For sure, yeah.
that kind of thing. So we split. So I've got we finally bought a new devotion book, which we've been using the same one for many years.
Oh, nice.
Just revise it. But it's quite a short they're very short. I don't know what the age group. There's no doesn't say what age group they're catering to, but it's too short. One page is too short. It's literally a little brief and then like a questionnaire supposedly. But I mean, it's too short. If you read through and chat a little bit, the kids will know the answer to it easily.
Okay.
So I've been doing 2 or 3. So it's been obviously the beginning of the book, and it started with like, you know, who was before God, was God first, and all these things, and you know, and it went on to creation and whatnot, and so we were talking about Adam and Eve and the fall and sin and whatever the story was, and one of the children asked me how old was Adam when he died.
Yeah.
So I said, well, let's go and have a look. So I said, but let's
That's
start.
a very good question.
Yeah, very good question. Very interesting. So let's start at the beginning. So I read through creation with him, and it was very interesting. I was reminded of stuff that I forget, and they obviously had revelation on things that they didn't know. So I mean, we were on Genesis 6 was what we're doing on Monday. So I don't want to go all the way through, but just like some of the things, for example, they didn't realize. I think you forget it, that light and darkness was there before the sun and the moon.
Yes.
God made them sun on day 4.
Yeah. Light and darkness was
But it was already light and darkness and day. You know, light came and then darkness came and then light came. There's one that was one day.
Yeah.
Actually, I think originally got on the topic because
let there be light.
Someone said, you know, that, and no offense if you believe this or if this is your understanding, but it's not I don't understand it like this, and I don't know how people. I can understand how they equate it, but you know, people say for God 1,000 years is like a day, a day is like 1,000 years. Now that principle is correct, but that principle is talking about the fact that God has no time limit.
Yeah.
It's not talking about creation.
Yeah.
Because he says, I created whatever, when there was darkness and then there was light, day 1, or one day depending on the version. So there was an evening and there was a morning, one day. So if there was an evening and a morning, it has to be one day, 24 hours like we have it.
Yeah.
He wouldn't have called it 24 hours necessarily because it wasn't that the same
Also, you
time
wouldn't call
structure
it
that
an
we have.
evening and a morning if it was many evenings and many mornings.
Exactly, which would be 1,000 years or 100. So I really struggle with, like people jump on that and I'm like, no guys, it's not correct. Yes, the concept of God being limitless or timeless is 100% correct. But the creation was one day. One day. You know, darkness came, light came, it was a day. So we jumped on that and we chatted, and then we were like, and then I said to them, well, what came first? The sun, like not the chicken or the egg, the sun or the light? No, the sun came first because that's what creates light. I said, no, it didn't. And we got into reading this, and then you go down and he made this and he made the stars and what are they there for and all those type of things. And you learn so much more, I think, when you reread it, and obviously they were like blown away. Same with Adam and Eve. We spoke about, you know, they were not joking about men and women and like, why women are better or whatever the story was, or girls are better. Yeah, no, if you say so. And I was like, okay, well, why did God make women? No, they don't know. To make babies. I was like, no, go and read it. And we go and read. God made Adam, put him in the garden, sent him out to go and find a friend. He couldn't find a friend. And there were no friends from the animals. He didn't connect with any of them. Yeah. And then obviously all these things that we were talking. Then we got on talking about the fact that there was nobody ate meat. So all the vegans, vegetarians, it was your time because there was no death.
Yeah.
So nobody ate meat. So lions, which were created, didn't eat meat.
Yeah.
They didn't need to. They didn't. We as humans didn't need to eat meat.
Yes.
And how did that come in? We started going into the fall and the sin, and then we got onto what was very cool with the age now. So you go and obviously read. I want to actually quickly grab it for you guys. I think it's Genesis 3. No, Genesis 2. Verse 3 talks about the fall, which is great. So Genesis 2. And yeah, it talks about man and woman in the garden, blah, 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 blah. This is how God formed. And the other thing obviously interesting as well was that Adam was formed from the dirt.
Yeah.
Eve wasn't. She was formed
from the rib.
Yeah. Which we know.
That's why you guys are always cleaner than us.
We were dirty.
That was bad. Working on it. I'm working on my dad jokes.
Also, you should work on them a bit more.
Yeah, sounds like you should practice.
Okay.
Things like where is the Garden of Eden?
Yeah.
Now there is
It's
talk.
in Africa, obviously.
Yeah, there's talk of the
Cradle
whoever
of
you know
mankind.
they are who study these things. They say it was somewhere around Ethiopia, somewhere around there.
Okay.
If you look here, it says in Genesis 2, verse 10, a river went out from Eden to water the garden. From there, it divided and became the source of 4 rivers. The name of the first one was Pishon, which flows entire land of whatever, Havilal or whatever, where there's gold.
Mm-hmm.
Africa. And then they give a whole bunch of other metals are there. The second one is whatever, Gihon, which flows in the Thailand and Kush, whatever that is. The third river is the Tigris River, which still exists, which runs east to Assyria, which is Asia. And then the Euphrates, which still exists. So you can kind of pinpoint where those are. It was roundabout here somewhere.
Well, that kind of makes sense because of like Egypt, because Egypt is still part of Africa.
Yeah,
right?
It is. Yeah.
And
I
don't remember, stupid.
You must remember, if we look at these are what I love about reading these. If you think of I'm not 100% sure about this, so don't shoot me if I'm wrong, but there was one continent before the Tower of Babel.
Pangaea.
Yeah, before the Tower of Babel.
Yes.
There was one continent. When the Tower of Babel came and God separated them, they spread out the continent. So Egypt and whatever would have been connected to Europe and whatever. Whereas now there's a gap.
Yes.
So now you go, how could it be? It wouldn't have been like that because we haven't got yet to the Tower of Babel in the story.
Yes.
That's cool.
Or in the creation.
It's very interesting,
Things like that you don't realize.
Yeah.
Anyway, it goes on to talk about how old they were. I can't find it now. Anyway, it goes on. I think they were 900. Adam was 900 when he died.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah. Methuselah was the oldest, I think 969 or something like that.
Yes.
I stand corrected, or stand to be corrected. But he was also in the 921 or 920.
Something like that. There's a whole bunch. That was what was cool as well. And we got to a point, not since consequences. There's a point, just after they leave.
I mean, I suppose they did have to repopulate the entire Earth.
Yeah.
It would take a few years.
What's interesting again is like also when they did that. So, for example, because there's a very cool list. Go and have a look, guys. Very cool list in Genesis, somewhere between 1 and 6. And I know that's 6 chapters, but where it lists this one's child.
Yes.
He had this child at 120. I think Adam had what's name at 120. And then he lived, it says they lived in another 820 years.
Yeah.
So you add 720 years, you add up to, and it'll say his life was 985 years. And it lists all of them down to the youngest one being, there was one that was 300 and something, but he didn't die.
Yeah.
He walked so closely with God.
That was Enoch.
Yeah, Enoch. God took him away.
Yeah, I think he got taken away at like 300 years old.
320.
Which is so interesting because that's something also that you don't think about, is that their lives overlapped. They all lived.
Yeah, the line of Seth,
Like if like let's say Methuselah was 969 years old, like all the other guys were still alive kind of in that time period. So what I'm trying to get at is when Enoch was taken up, Adam was still alive. And he saw that Enoch, which is like his great-great-grandchild, walked so close with God that he got taken up. And Adam had first-hand experience of walking that close with God, and he still didn't.
Yeah.
He wasn't able to do
crazy.
it. Yeah, which is it, like, because it makes it, once you understand the personal side of it, and there's people actually involved and stuff, it's like, wow, this is
Jared was 962 years, then he died. Enoch was 65.
That's what Jared means, longevity.
Exactly. Enoch walked with God 300 years, and the father, whatever. So Enoch's life lasted 365 years. Then God took him. I love that. Then God took him.
Yeah.
He didn't die.
Yeah.
Everyone else died. God took him. And goes on, talks about then Noah was 500 years old, and he fathered Shem, Ham, and Japheth.
Yeah.
So when he had his sons, before he built the ark, he was 500 years old already.
And
That's
then
like crazy.
And then he still built an ark, which is hectic, and it took him 120 years.
Yeah.
And it's not like God spoke to them the whole time. I think we mentioned this before. It's like
he said, go and build an ark.
God said, go build an ark, and it took 120 years of silence from God's side, and they were just faithful, and they built the ark, and then once it was built, the rain came, and the animals came, and they closed it, and
There's so much. There's so many.
It's so weird. It's so sci-fi.
The questions, I'm going to go back to another one as well on that point as well. But we started Genesis 6. We did sons of God and daughters of mankind. When mankind began to multiply, blah blah blah. Basically the sons of God saw that the women were beautiful, and they took whoever they wanted. They just started going crazy and took everyone whoever they wanted as their wives or whatever. Because one of the children said, "But why don't we live that old?"
Yeah.
So apart from the world being perfect, then the air is perfect. There's no pollution, none of that stuff, which we have now, which obviously affects us. Which is, I think our average age now is 80 or something like that. Somewhere around there. But it goes on and says, and the Lord said, saw that they were the daughters of mankind were beautiful, and they took any as they chose as wives for themselves. So, nonsense. And the Lord said, my spirit will not remain with mankind forever. Because they are corrupt, their days will be 120 years. So we don't have this because the world is so fraught now. We live younger because God cursed mankind. Cursed.
Yeah, he was like, you guys are not going to live
because of what mankind did.
Yeah.
I mean, that's...
Yeah, it's quite hectic. Yeah, no, it's the details of...
Then there's the other one here, the Nephilim. Well, on the earth. So I click on the little links, go, okay, what is it? It says possibly means fallen ones, traditionally giants.
Yeah.
Now, I know that I once before I read something, a commentary on Noah and the ark, and they're saying that Noah was huge. He wasn't a little man like he was a big man, so he could build the ark. He could lift the wood. He could, because he was a big man. He was possibly a giant. I love that it says the Nephilim, whatever, on the earth, both in those days and after, when the sons of God came to the daughters of mankind, blah blah blah, whatever. They were powerful men of old, the famous men. I mean, that's like...
But isn't that referring to the angels?
Yeah, it's the giant, but it's saying they're giant because they had children.
Yes, yeah.
So that was what, which now leads to...
So like Goliath and those guys.
Yeah, so that's kind of leads as well to the thought. I mean, we had Bible question day today, and they talk about... they're talking about like Greek mythology and like those gods and whatever. And I'm not saying that they are linked to whatever. But if you think about it, the idea of Hercules and whereas a god had a child.
Yeah, they all had.
That is all they've now. I feel like they've spun that all off this.
Yeah.
They don't want to admit that it's God, so they spun it off their sun god or their moon god or whatever.
Yeah.
But here it talks about that thing.
Yeah, that thing that happened. Yeah, 100%.
That happened.
Yeah. And I mean, it's not unlike the devil to try and make himself look like God. I mean, that's
exactly
kind of why he got kicked out of heaven. So, yeah, it's pretty insane. It's so weird when you go into the details. I mean, like Satan like one of his callings was to reflect the glory of God back to him. So he would walk around in the glory of God because that was his role to reflect that. And then the reason why he fell is because he started thinking that he was equal, that he was God because he looked like God. And then God was like, and then he fell out. Michael helped him fall.
I went back to Genesis 3 as well. There's one here. It talks about the consequence of sin, and we already know that as a man, it says the woman, it's labor will be painful, and from this was also interesting about men. You by the sweat of your brow you will eat. So it's not like you can just pick the fruit.
Yeah.
You have to work. Excuse me. Then it goes on for the woman. It says your desire will be for your husband, yet he will rule it over you.
Yeah.
That's interesting. If you think about how like people are abused and whatever, and it's not right. That's not what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Abuse is never ever right. Never.
Yeah, but it's like the fall of man, the sin.
But it was almost spoken over that will be happening because of the sin of Eve.
Yeah.
Then to the man he said, because you listened to your wife and ate from the tree, but which I command you, do not eat from. The ground is cursed because of you. That's interesting. Not like because of our ability, we're not going to do this, and now the earth's not going to. The earth is actually cursed because of the man's sin.
Hey,
and if you go back and think, because if you go back right further on in the beginning, what is Adam's job? He was put in the garden to tend to the garden and look after the world, rule over the world. So we. Again, if we go back to last week's episode, we abdicate our role as men, whatever, things get cursed.
Yeah.
He didn't do his job in the garden.
Okay,
because of his sin, he couldn't do his job. The earth got cursed. Now we're looking at where we have global warming and all these things.
Yeah, we have.
Hectic.
Comes out of the sin. Now we all know. When everyone jokes, we know when I get to heaven, you know that saying. When you get to heaven, I don't want to talk to God. I mean, I do, but I want to sit down with Adam and Eve and say, "Hey, guys,
come on, what? Yeah."
But everything that how the world is fraughting or whatever is sin, but it's this sin that comes from. The curse comes from this.
Yeah, that's like the origin of it.
Yeah. The stuff that we forget.
Yeah.
Stuff that you forget when you read these things.
And people wonder why like everything is so corrupt and so evil. It's like, but look where it came from. Look where it all started.
Yeah. And same as because they were talking about the students asked about death and whatever. Oh, not death, but they were saying and it says you will eat bread by the sweat of your brow until you return to the ground, since you were taken from it. For you are dust, and you will return to dust. So before that, you wouldn't have.
Yeah.
Man wouldn't have died. That's where I joke and said,
Yeah.
you watch all these movies where they chase after, the chalice of whatever that gives you, your youth back or immortality.
Yeah.
Or whatever. We had it
Yeah.
until they sinned. When they sinned, we were cursed back to the ground.
Yeah.
You will be dying. You won't be. Your physical body will be dying.
Yeah.
It's
crazy. It's very interesting. Yeah. It's also another thing to think about is that the Bible doesn't talk about time or age really, Adam's age, until he gets kicked out of the garden.
Yeah.
So like, how long was he in the garden? Were they there for a day? Were they there for 100 years? Were they there for a month?
Well, they were long enough that he was walking in the cool of the night with God. They were walking with God. So it must have not just been the first time.
Yeah. So it could have been like
because
a week
God
later.
came and looked for them and they were hiding. So it must have been something that they were doing.
Yeah.
But when Adam was created, was he already man or was he a baby?
No, he was
man. He was created man.
Okay.
Yeah, he was created man.
Apparently, Adam and Eve didn't have belly buttons.
Well, it makes sense. But
I get better.
I know someone who doesn't have a belly button.
really?
Yeah, I won't go into that.
But
Yeah.
then how did they determine his age? Just like from the first day he was created?
Well, yeah, I'm not 100% sure.
I love this. The Lord God says, since the man has become like one of us,
Yeah.
like God. And again, there was another point as well, which I could point out to the students that they forget, that one of us.
Yeah.
He doesn't talk about himself, God the Father, it's us, it's the three in one.
Yeah.
It's one of us, knowing good and evil, he must not reach out and take from the tree of life, eat and live forever. So in the Garden of Eden, there was a tree of life. That's not the one they weren't allowed to eat from. That was good and knowledge of good and evil.
Yeah, there were two trees.
So they
in
were
the garden,
eating
yeah.
from a tree that would
was
live forever.
Yeah.
So those things that you see in those movies, those things that these other religions chase after, they existed.
Yeah.
They just manipulated them to have to whatever their religion or whatever they wanted.
Hectic.
It's crazy.
Yeah,
like
no,
things that we.
It's mind blowing. Another interesting thing that he says when Adam sinned, that he set an angel to go stand in front of the tree of life,
Yes.
so that they could not eat from the tree of
Yeah,
life.
it says, so the Lord God sent him away from the garden Eden to work the ground from which he was taken. He drove the man out and stayed. Now, interesting, and thought on that, was it just Adam and Eve that he drove out?
Yeah, that's a good question.
He drove the man out.
Yeah.
He didn't drive Adam out, so was it mankind he drove out of the garden?
There's so many questions. Yeah.
And stationed the cherubim and the flaming, whatever, whirling sword east of the Garden of Eden to guard the way to the tree of life.
Yeah.
So they couldn't get back there.
Yeah. And now through Jesus,
Yeah,
we have now access again to this life.
exactly. Because that's the thing.
But not immortality.
That's the thing.
No,
soul does,
it depends
Physically,
Yes.
because you could essentially, if Enoch under the old well, not even under the covenant, but under sin,
It
if
wasn't
Enoch,
the old covenant yet.
there was no old covenant. Yeah, it was like they were in sin. There was like raw, just people in sin, whatever. If Enoch was able to walk so close to God that God had to take him up because he wasn't going to die, surely we can now walk that close with him as well.
Absolutely.
I've heard of many testimonies, specifically one, I forget the guy's name now. It was, I forget his name, but it was not Smith Wigglesworth, another guy. He basically would walk in his garden and he would have, he would walk into heaven.
Yeah.
He would have these heavenly encounters in his garden. He would have, he would talk to Jesus and angels would be there and stuff like that. And at some point he said, he was old, he was like 80 years old. He said, heaven is calling me, I need to go. And his family was just kind of like, well, the guy's old and whatever. So at one point he went to go sit down on his porch and died. Like he said to them, I'm going now. Heaven is calling me. So he went to go sit down on his steps and died. So he obviously left. He walked into heaven and his body didn't go with him.
I think that's like the ultimate way to die.
Yeah, that'd be lit, yeah. Like if me and you can do that. So let's pray and fast a lot so that we can get close to Jesus. I read something and here's okay, wait, let's quickly take a break before I carry on this.
So strange.
Cool. Okay, so clap. There you go. We're back.
Mosquitoes, yeah.
We so the thing that you mentioned, Anna,
Yes.
about that, since he is now taken on our image or whatever,
Yes.
we have become, or we have been made in his image, but we've it's more than that. We have been made for His image. Because we are made in His image, it is our calling to display the image of God when we walk around. You understand what I'm saying? And I think that's something that we need to focus on more in life, is trying to be like Jesus. Trying to be like God created us to be, so that we can reflect the light and the life that God has given us.
It's crazy. I'm just reading this, or rereading again, going through here. They were talking about the line of Cain, because there was point I wanted to make. I've forgotten the point. I was hoping I would see it, because it's here somewhere. But kind of another point here. It's just the line of Cain. So it talks about how he was into his wife, whatever. He conceived, gave birth to Enoch. So Cain, who was cursed, gave birth to Enoch, who walked with God so closely that he was taken, which is interesting. First of all, Cain became the builder of a city, because remember he was cursed. Because of what he did, he was cursed. He would never, when he farmed or whatever, it wouldn't produce. So he was just a wanderer, and he had a mark on his head, or whatever the story is. And he talks about,
it's a lot of weird things, If
anyone kills him, that they would know that they killed him, because he will be avenged 77 times. Or
yes.
Anyway, it talks about, talking about the wives and the kids, and he was the first. So the first nomadic herdsman, came from Cain, who was sent out. He had to just wander the earth.
Yeah.
And what do nomadics do? They wander.
They wander.
They don't have a place to go. That's very interesting. And then it goes on to talk about his one. His brother was named Jubal. He was the first of all who played the lyre and the flute. So the first person in the world to play the flute. It comes in the Bible, people.
Yeah.
This is what frustrates me. We were talking this morning. We were saying everybody's so quick to jump on watching a video about how two black holes appeared somewhere, and you put your arm in, it comes out. It's rubbish.
Yeah.
This stuff is in the Bible, and people don't realize that.
Yeah.
They don't know where things came from. It talks about Zilal bore Tubal Cain, whatever, who made all kinds of bronze and iron tools. So because Cain's cursed and he couldn't work the land or whatever, he had to find something else. He built a city, and he had to do all these things. And his kids started playing musical instruments, and his kids started, made tools which weren't clearly there before, because it says first to make iron tools. Whatever.
Sorry guys, you have
there's
a lot
a
of
fly,
flies.
and I've got an electric racket, and I just want to kill this fly. So.
Yeah, and it goes on to now, this is again here now. So now we've got Cain here, whatever it talks about Cain. We've got a whole bunch of Cain's children. Then it says Adam was intimate with his wife again, and she gave birth to a son, and named him Seth. For she said, God has given me another offspring in place of Abel, since Cain killed him. A son was born to Seth also, and he named him Enosh. At the time the people began to call on the name of the Lord. Then it goes on the line of Seth, and talks about Adam's records. And Adam was 130 years old when he fathered a son in his likeness, according to his image, and named him Seth. So he was 130 when he had Seth, the third child. Adam lived 800 years after he fathered Seth, and he fathered other sons and daughters. So Adam's life was 930 years. Then he died. Seth was 105 when he had a child, and 8 then it goes on to all those ages.
Sure.
Very interesting to
go.
And I mean, that's Genesis 5. We're 5 chapters, I'm reading on my phone, so I don't know how many pages. It's probably a page or 2.
Yeah. Actually, it's so interesting. Even that when the I lost my train of thought. The first couple of guys, the first 10 guys, whatever, their names and the meaning of it already explains that God is going to send redemption. Let me see if I can find it.
Okay, at the bottom of this, of Genesis 5, it talks about Methuselah, life lasted 969 years, then he died. Lamech was 182 years old when he fathered a son, and he named him Noah, saying, this one will bring us relief from the agonizing labor of our hands, caused by the ground the Lord had cursed.
Sure. Interesting.
Lamech lived 595 years after he fathered Noah. It talks about him. He lived 777 years. He lived 777 years, which is like that, one of those perfect numbers.
Yeah.
And he was the one who fathered Noah, who was going to give them redemption.
Interesting how also like the way that they named their children and blessed their children would bear fruit in the future.
Yeah.
After like God had cursed the earth, kind of thing.
Yeah. Crazy.
So crazy.
It's so crazy. And I think I was just saying to the kids, a lot of the stuff that we go through now, we wonder where it comes from. We wonder why there's this and why there's that.
Yeah.
You go back and you read this stuff and you go, that's where it comes from.
Yeah.
It's because of that sin. It's because of that punishment that not only is childbirth painful, or we have to work to to earn a living to eat and whatever. Because obviously, I mean, some of us we start by the sweat of our brow. Maybe in summertime, but otherwise we're not out farming. You know what I mean?
Yeah. 100%.
But why are we not farming? Because we've somehow, maybe we've come along from the line of Cain, where we had to have tools and had to have.
Hectic! I didn't even think about that. I didn't even think about that.
I don't know for sure, but it's just one of those
Well,
thoughts.
it's a theory,
It's just a theory. It's a thought that I had.
Yeah.
I mean, they had to have. Why did they have tools? Because they couldn't farm. Because the land they were cursed to the land, or the land was cursed to them, or however you want to say it. So they had to have. They had to eat and survive.
Yeah.
And Cain was marked not like he was marked so people wouldn't kill him. So it wasn't like he ran off and somebody killed him.
Yeah.
That didn't happen. He must have died of old age. Because
Because God didn't allow for him to die.
Yeah, God didn't. If whoever killed him would be punished. He must suffer for what he did.
Yeah. No, it's interesting. There's a lot to process. Yeah, I would definitely recommend the first two Bibles, Genesis and Exodus, are both very good. The first two Bibles, the first two books of Genesis and Exodus are really good. Leviticus,
Absolutely.
Numbers, and Deuteronomy get a bit. It's very interesting, but it gets a bit not confusing. It's just tedious. It's like the different laws and the different genealogies and stuff like that, which is quite interesting. But like the Genesis and Exodus is definitely a good read. If you're new to the Bible, it's very interesting. There's a lot of history in there that you kind of, it makes you question things.
I think it's also something that's good to reread.
100%.
Because like with me, I used to I probably started reading Genesis like 6 times.
Yeah.
And I just couldn't get through it because it's like so much information.
Yeah.
So I would start with like the New Testament or whatever. So it's like a really good thing I think to go and reread after you've got quite a large extent of knowledge about the
100%.
Bible, and then just see how things link to the New Testament, etc., etc.
Someone referred to reading the Bible as eating. So, you don't read the Bible. You get to a point where you've read the whole Bible, and then you don't stop reading it because you've now read it. It's like eating. So you read it to renew yourself and to renew your mind, because the Bible in Romans says that you renew your mind, or you should renew your mind constantly. I don't know why I've got this like fog brain.
Probably because
Like
you're
I
fasting.
can't remember everything, but so it's very interesting, and it's very important, I think, to focus and read the Bible
Absolutely.
often.
That was kind of the thing as well for me. I was with the children. I was like, guys, some of the stories, and they all know God made this, and then He made. They also had a discussion about dinosaurs and God's age, because one of the things in the book says we are dinosaurs. What happened to them, kind of thing, and
What is the answer to that question?
I don't have an exact answer. The thought pattern was that when the world got punished, they didn't get on the ark.
Well, that would
Not
be.
didn't just get on the ark. They obviously God planned it that way. He knew, kind of thing. But then also these guys would have walked with it.
Yeah.
Giants would have walked with him because, they would have been giants, so they would not necessarily have been giant dinosaurs. It doesn't say how big those giants are. It just says they were giants. So how that works, I'm not sure. I don't have an answer
Very
for it.
interesting though.
Yeah. No, dinosaurs are very interesting because we have their skeletons. We found their skeletons, so they did exist. And then another thing, there's actually a documentary that I got a while ago, but I never listened to it, about dragons, and how there were so many different dragons from all over, or so many stories of dragons from so many different people groups that were never connected. Like 300-400 years ago, they were never connected, and they all came up with these stories about dragons. The Eastern world and the North American Indians, and so it's like it's very strange.
It's one of
Our
those,
history.
I also think I said to the students on that day, that was last week sometime we were talking about that, and I said maybe God knew that the way that the earth was going to be, because of the curses and whatever, the way the ground and the air was going to change and the pollution is going to come into things, He knew that they wouldn't survive. So instead of letting them suffer, He took them away from, so He didn't allow them to go on the ark, because He knew that then they would be washed clean, or whatever, however you want to call it, they would be going extinct then, so they didn't have to live through the suffering of the... I don't know. But if you have an answer, if you've got a better answer, please
tell us
let
what
us
happened
know.
to the dinosaurs.
Oh, very interesting.
You know, there. I mean, and there we're talking about hundreds of years. That's the nice thing. There you have that time where you can say, it was 100 years because it was. The guys were living to 900 years old. Like, only after they went out did God say, no more, 120 years.
I wouldn't really want to live longer than that.
Yeah, and also, I mean,
you're only starting having kids at 500 years old. So I don't know what you're doing 500 years before that.
Practicing.
I mean, obviously that's what they're doing. We get that.
That's so funny, yeah.
But I mean, what do you do?
I mean,
you don't have to work the way we have to work. You know, I don't know.
Yeah.
Sure.
Very interesting.
No, I don't know. I don't want to live 120 years. I'm quite fine leaving when my job is done. I'm excited. Yeah, I think just the glimpse of heaven that you get when you really see God, like why would you want to stay? Like the only
for sure.
Like Paul says, like I'm torn. I want to be in heaven, but for your sake I'll be here. And he knew that he had a job, and he knew that there were people that were dependent on him, and that's why he knew that he must stay and whatever.
Yeah,
almost implying that he had a choice, which is strange.
Also walked closely with God.
Yeah,
but he wasn't that close. Was Enoch? Who were the other two? Elijah or Elisha, one of them?
Yeah, Elijah and Moses.
Was Moses wasn't taken up to heaven?
No, he wasn't taken up to heaven, but God buried him. So he was allowed, when the Israelites walked into the promised land, he was not allowed to enter, because the second time he hit the rock when he was supposed to speak to the rock.
Yes.
And then he was allowed, he went onto a peak by himself, watched Israel go into the promised land.
Okay.
And then it just says that, and God buried his body. God had to bury him. Which is strange. Oh, that's another one of those weird things that you don't understand. Yeah. And then obviously Elijah was taken up in a fiery chariot.
Yeah. I just love that. I mean, Enoch walked so close with God that he just took him.
Yeah.
So like,
he just walked into heaven. Yeah.
And obviously Jesus as well.
Yeah. Shabuzet. Lekker die binnen.
No, the students want to know now. So if we go to heaven and we go, are we going to find Jesus, his body, not his body lying somewhere, but in human, physical, where we're spirits? Is Enoch going to be his body?
Yeah, well, I think
taken to heaven.
That's a good question.
Wouldn't he get given a new body?
Well, that's the thing. I don't know. Does he need to get a new body? Because he didn't suffer death. We suffer death, which is why we need a new body.
Maybe he'll just be like Brauto or something.
I don't know.
Maybe he'll just be wearing something different. Who knows?
Interesting thought. Interesting.
Maybe he'll, because doesn't it say that we all get like crowns or like that kind of thing? Maybe he'll have like a unique type of situation.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, it's very interesting. I think our glorified bodies and everything is going to be so weird, because I mean Jesus rose from the dead in his glorified body,
and no one recognized him.
And he walked with his disciples.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
but I don't know. I mean, is it one of those, again, play the other side of the coin? Did no one recognize him because he wanted that way, kind of thing, or was it just because he was he looked different?
I don't know. Yeah,
didn't it have to do with like how the disciples had already forgotten or whatnot?
No, it was also, there was a thing where they had he apparently had a beard and long hair, and apparently during the torturing process they ripped out his beard and ripped off his hair and stuff, and so he didn't have hair and a beard like he used to have.
I feel like next week we should talk about heaven.
That sounds good.
The good topic.
There's a book that I've been wanting to read for a long time, from Randy Alcorn. Randy Alcorn. Randy Alcorn.
Yeah. Randy, if you want
but yeah, it was basically heaven. Yeah, it was explaining heaven and his encounter and stuff like that about heaven. And the thing is, I mean, we have this perception growing up. I don't know where it came from. I can't speak for everyone. Maybe I'm the only idiot that thinks like this.
You're about to find out.
I think, I always thought
the two of us will judge.
You go to heaven and you just sing songs. Like, that's the thing. Like, and that's obviously not so, because the Bible says you will rule and reign.
And that's because
there's going to be a new earth.
I understand what you're saying. That's because they say your job in heaven is to worship God.
Yes.
So we immediately think worship as we see in the service. You know. So I would be playing drums because that's what I do. But it's not. But I don't think.
Obedience is
worship. I was going to say, our life of obedience is worship. So, yeah. But then also the other side of the coin, your life of obedience, because God tells us to do stuff, but there's nothing to do in heaven. There's no hunger, so you don't need to eat. There's no what. So,
cell phone.
Well, you don't need a cell phone, because what do you need that for?
Yeah. I think also there's a lot of us, like a lot of our character. Like, for instance, the part of me that wants to explore and find new things and understand new things. Those are good things, and I think those are things that God put in me. So if I get to heaven one day and I've explored the new earth and the new heaven, let's say it takes me 1 trillion years, at some point I'm going to have walked everywhere and
Yeah.
explored and understood what I can for that place. Then maybe we're going to go and make planets. We'll make new Edens. We'll make new. It's such a weird concept to think about.
I always struggle with those kind of books and stuff like that. Where people are like, was it 5 minutes in heaven or whatever?
Yeah.
Because I'm kind of like, would God want us to see how amazing that is and then send us back to the earth? Because we'd never be happy.
Mm.
And it's not like, even if we understand, as Paul, Paul didn't see heaven. He had a concept of it. Same as what we go. It must be so amazing. But if you've seen how amazing it is, you've got to come. Even if you understand you've got to work now. We already know what it's like to work, to put up with someone because you need to get salary kind of thing, or your client, your customer, whatever, a difficult customer. Now you've got that on a huge scale because you've seen the answer. You're back on the earth where you've got to put up with 20 years of chaos and.
Well, if it's justified, in the sense, if God had to, even just in this conversation, we have rediscovered some of the facts of the Bible and be like, wow, that's interesting, and it almost motivates you to read it again.
Yeah.
So if God knew that you would be super motivated to follow him and to be obedient to him, if he showed you a glimpse of heaven and what it looked like, you came back and you're like, wow, that's real. That's legit. I need to get as many people as possible into that place.
Yeah, true.
So that's also a different angle.
Highly possible. I don't have an answer to it. I'm just always I kind of struggle when I'm going, is it like, would God really want us to see that thing and then say you can't have it?
Yeah.
Before, which is, if you think about it, let's go back to this. Before, when they were in the garden, they ate from that tree, they did this, not the tree of good and knowledge. But he said, don't eat from that. They'd never eaten from before. It actually says, one of the interesting things we were talking about, how I spoke to them, chatted about how the devil portrays stuff, that it says that Eve saw the tree and she saw that the fruit was good for meals and that the tree was beautiful. Kind of like, so you kind of know that, but you know you can't have that. Now I'm thinking like this would be the most extreme of that. The answer to everything would be heaven and how things would be. But you must live in a world that doesn't have that.
Maybe that's why you won't see heaven until you go there finally.
Yeah, possibly.
Maybe.
Thanks for that judgment right there. Can you feel that love, guys? Can you?
That's so funny.
I don't know. I'm not saying that I definitely don't believe them. I'm just saying I always I don't understand why. I feel like it would be difficult for me.
Yes.
It would be difficult for me if you said this is heaven, this is the answer.
Yeah, and now you have to come back.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's it's definitely a personality thing.
Because I'm like, what on earth?
What on earth would I do on earth? What would I do on earth?
Suffering, but I could be there. Where it's amazing, you know.
Yeah. I think that's why Paul he had a struggle. He was like, if it was my choice, I would be there. But for your sake, I'll be here.
It's kind of like why only God knows when that's going to happen. Only God knows how the plans for our life.
Yes.
Therefore, I know the plans I have for you. We've been through this before as well on one episode. Not he has the plans for your life. In 10 years' time, you're going to be this, and this. So get on with it in the meantime, kind of thing, because it feels like it would be cruel.
Yeah, it is cool.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Kind of like it's a taste of the best. It's like having the best steak in the world, and you're not allowed to have this in the 20 years.
I think also God.
At least you're allowed to have it again.
Yeah,
it's true.
At some point, and then it's forever.
True.
I think it's interesting how God. I think a lot of it is He wants to see our heart.
Yeah.
And He wants.
For sure.
Wants us to develop and to make a choice to follow Him because.
That's what the student said. Why did he put the tree there?
Yeah.
Why did he put the tree? Why didn't he take the tree away?
We could have made robots.
I said no because he created it. He could have done whatever he wanted. I said no because he put it. Then he said. I said it's like it's you guys. I can put you next to someone during an exam that's the same grade as you or whatever, and I can say to you, listen, you could cheat, but I'm hoping that you don't.
Yes.
That's the kind of thing. He said, there it is.
Yeah.
You can. It's there. Not that you can. Don't touch it. Whatever. Knowing that they're going to do it, but hoping that they wouldn't.
Yeah.
Well, in Jordan Peterson's book, I think we've spoken about him quite a lot. There's he talks about order and chaos, and how wherever there's order, there needs to be chaos. So it's like that kind of concept of like the garden is the order, but there has to be chaos to balance the order, kind of thing. If that makes sense, like there has to be a choice.
So what did you say is the chaos? The choice, the unknown.
Yeah, the unknown of like, well, you can.
What can you do? Yeah,
but you shouldn't.
Look, obviously, in this context, the devil came into the serpent or whatever, and manipulated that situation in. I heard it too. Yeah.
So it's like, why does the snake exist?
Well, the snake it says that he'll be cursed, and for the rest of the time he'll be on his belly. So he probably didn't. It wasn't a snake like we have it now.
Yes,
You know, and then all this. Actually, even last week, in the book, we were going through the devotion book about this. They said something about the snakes. About snakes, I said no, but why do snakes always bite people? And of course, the snake lovers and whatever. The snakes do go away when people come. I'm not saying that all snakes. But generally, snakes will lie there. They won't move when you come. I walk towards an impala or a springbok. We know we try to hunt them. They run away the whole day. But the snake won't necessarily. You know, he won't disappear. But because
they're
it says
aggressive.
there will be amnesty between man, so Eve's offspring, and the snake's offspring.
Yeah.
There will be, and he will bite yours, and you will crush his head.
Yeah.
Hectic.
It doesn't say he will crush you.
Well, chaos and
you will
order.
crush him.
Yeah.
It's legit chaos and order.
Yeah.
They exist
So-
because they exist.
Yeah.
They have to balance. It's like
Even
Jesus and the devil.
Yeah.
It's like they all have to balance somewhere. They can't just be all good and they can't just be all bad. There needs to be a balance.
that leads me to think about like heaven. Let's say now we believe in Jesus. We walk a faithful road for however long we're here. We get accepted into heaven because we are good and faithful servant. In heaven, I think it's in the book of Revelations or somewhere in Ezekiel where it says that every year you will walk past hell to remember, because if you forget, it's such a weird thing, such a weird concept that it almost implies that just like the devil lost his salvation or got kicked out of heaven, we also can still have free choice once we're in heaven. It's not like our free choice gets taken away. We just get like a heavenly download of realizing what it actually is, experiencing life as it was intended from the beginning. But you still have your free choice. You can still
Adam and
choose.
Eve could still choose.
Yeah, all day.
Even though they were in a perfect world,
Yeah.
they could still choose.
Yeah.
We can still choose.
Yeah.
And that is like, if you choose the right thing amidst wrong decisions, that's a much more powerful thing than
Yes.
just choosing the right thing because
Because you
it's the
can't
only
not
option.
choose.
Because there's no choice. It's the only option.
Yeah.
Hectic.
Very interesting.
It's very deep once you get into it, and it makes you question it. And I think that we don't question it, we don't talk about it enough, we don't read the Bible enough, we don't spend enough time with Jesus. I read something the other day, and the person said success on earth is not based on what you've done or what you've completed or achieved or anything. Success on earth is purely based on how close you walked with Jesus.
Yeah.
And that is in all spheres of life. That is in anything. That is the ultimate success. Because anything else, you can say, no, but look, this guy, he made a big success in business or whatever, and he never walked with God, and he conned his way. You call that success. You're going to hell, dude. You know, if you don't believe in Jesus.
Financial success or business or whatever.
Any of those.
Family or whatever, just means nothing if it's not got to do with God.
If you didn't walk with him, because it legit says anything done outside of faith is sin. And there's so many people doing really amazing things that look amazing, but they're not doing it in obedience to God. They're doing it to boost their own ego.
I saw a reel with Jordan Peterson. They were talking to a guy, asking a guy about what car you drive, the BMW. He said, well, why do you drive him? No, he likes the car. He said, okay, so you really like the car. And he, okay, great. So let's say you're the 1%. There's the other 99% of people, and I mean, I like BMW, so don't get me wrong. They like what it says about them. Not what they don't actually like
The car.
feel of the car. They like what BMW or Mercedes says about them.
Yeah, even if it was uncomfortable and.
Now you always talk this guy talks about financial stuff and whatever. You don't need you have what you need in another car kind of thing, or a normal car, whatever.
Yeah.
But it's exactly that thing. Success, you feel like it's a successful thing.
Yeah.
I'm successful. I've got a BMW or a Mercedes or an Audi or whatever. it might be. Whatever you could be a Land Rover Defender for heaven's sake. Whatever you think is success. But all those things are called to naught if it's not.
If it's not with him.
God,
so that's why first and foremost we are called to walk with Jesus on this earth. And I made a video about it long time ago about how our hearts are now the new Garden of Eden. We should now that we believe in Jesus, we can now walk with him. We can, in Afrikaans say ons wandel. You walk with him in your heart. You wander with him. You think about things and you ask him about things. And you, I remember the one time I was struggling to fall asleep, and I I don't know. I just had these, like, you know, when you watch a stupid movie or something and you have intrusive thoughts. Oh, that's a good word. Have intrusive thoughts, and I was like, you know, I don't. And then I felt God's presence very strong, and I was like, oh, you know, this is weird. Like, I shouldn't have these thoughts. And Jesus was like, it's okay. Let's talk about it. I'm here. You know, I'm in your heart. I'm with you. Let's talk about what's in your heart, the good, the bad, the everything. You know, like let's just talk about it. And He wants to walk a road with us and lead us closer to Himself, and ultimately so that we can walk in the light and the life that He's given us.
Absolutely. But yeah, go and read
Genesis.
Go and read Genesis.
Go and read Exodus. Go read.
Your
Kings
Bible.
is really good.
Go read the King. I mean, we said this morning.
Kings is pretty cool.
You guys love watching these movies where you know it's King Arthur or whatever, and the soldiers. That's all in there.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
The phone, but in the Bible, that's all in there. The battles and the way that soldiers were chosen, and it's just incredible.
Man,
like,
it's so crazy. Yeah. No, it's very interesting. Definitely, the Bible is not boring.
No.
If you think the Bible,
There are parts that can get boring, they get tedious. Yeah, lists of people and lists of, but
like as a whole, like if you look at there's some
the stories. If you go look at the Old Testament, there's the stories that they are, and you go think of this was amazing. Check what this guy actually did. And Samson was incredible. You know, and he's a small part of it. One of the judges. He's not the judge. He's one of the judges. But he was incredible what he did. You know, what Rahab and those women did. I think it was Rahab with the spy. Who was it? Yeah, let the spies in through the wall. Amazing. Like changed a whole world.
Yes.
What happened there changed our lives later on. That's a little thing that they did, you know.
Anyway. Cool.
Yeah.
Hope you guys enjoyed that. Please like and subscribe.
Share.
And share it.
Hit the bell.
And thank you for the 50th and 51st subscriber. You guys are legends. All the other 49, you're also legends.
24, what episode is this?
This is episode 24.
And now your wife follows.
Yeah, I know. I
It's
can't
just
believe
on
it.
my agape account.
That one. Okay. Now see. Okay.
Like it. Enjoy. Thanks very much for joining us. Have an awesome weekend, and we will see you next Friday.
Bye.
Cheers.
Cheers.